There's a lot of negative stuff around Jay-Z right now, which is clearly damaging to him.
Yeah, and I think there's like a famous quote from someone who was acquitted, and he said, all right, where do I go to get my reputation back?
Right.
I mean, social media was a light. Beyonce's next, Jay-Z's next, all the people in Inner Circle is next.
Yeah, and the problem is there are just so many pictures of the two of them partying together, and he clearly was at a load of Diddy parties.
Remember when one bar rewired how hip-hop thought about power? I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. It wasn't just a clever line, it was a public business plan. For years, that blueprint looked bulletproof. The kid from Marcy scaled the corporate wall, took the penthouse, and turned his name into an asset class. The culture cheered because it felt like our win too. But lately, the shine looks different. A casino pitch that locals didn't want. NFL deals that made the stage bigger but made the message feel softer. Liquor and streaming plays that made headlines but left fans wondering who actually gets fed. This isn't a takedown or a love letter. It's a clear look at the pattern behind the brand and the tab that comes due when the marketing says for the people, but the math says for the portfolio. Here's the thesis: build a myth, build a moat. Jay-Z didn't just sell albums, he sold a worldview where luxury equals liberation, where ownership equals justice, and where every contract can be framed as a community act.
Jay-Z got accused of RAPE with P. Diddy in a civil lawsuit going back to 2000. And then MIA, who is the singer, she had a video where she was talking about this, and she recently has become a Christian, it sounds like, and she called them out. Listen to what she said.
Met Jay-Z and I signed to Rock Nation. The first thing he told me to do is get plastic surgery.
It worked because it felt like revenge on history. When the champagne turned gold and the suits turned friendly, the story wrote itself. He's winning, so we're winning. But stories age. In 2021, half of Armand de Brignac moved to LVMH, a royal seal that told the global market hip-hop could bless a bottle into blue-chip status. That same year, TIDAL folded into a bigger fintech orbit, and suddenly the streaming service that promised a fairer split became part of a payments empire. If you're keeping score, that's elite synergy, not grassroots reform. None of this is illegal or even unusual. It's how big business works. The tension is the pitch. Each deal is draped in purpose, the language heavy with equity, community, and opportunity. Fans hear "we" and assume the upside travels wide. But the ledgers don't speak in slogans. If the value flows to the holding company and the halo flows to the celebrity, how much is left for everyone else?
Jay-Z and Beyonce have canceled this year's Rock Nation brunch. One reason, her feet hurt. Beyonce feet hurt. And so, she had foot surgery. And now it's, she just got to rest her feet. Second, ain't nobody there to come, Diddy.
That's the question that keeps creeping back, no matter how bright the launch party lights. And that question gets loudest when the neighborhood itself says no. Times Square already runs hot. Crowds, noise, endless neon. Dropping a casino into that chaos was pitched as a civic good. Jobs, cameras, sanitation budgets, childcare for theater workers, a splash of philanthropy around the district. The messaging sounded like a rescue plan: give the heart of New York a fresh revenue stream and do it with a face the city knows. But the people who live and work there looked past the press release. Restaurant owners warned about dollars getting siphoned into the gaming floor. Broadway groups said tourists don't fly in for slot machines, they come for shows, and casinos lock guests inside by design.
Let me just tell you something. I'm a founder, and you can't tell somebody that did all those things to do it different. If I wouldn't have done it the way I did it, there would be no Jay-Z. I'm going to say this, and you ask Jay-Z anytime, there would be no Jay-Z as a rapper if it wasn't for me.
Families asked why the most famous square on earth needed more temptation, not more public space. When locals feel sold to, they start reading the footnotes. Polls showed resistance hardening, coalitions formed, and when the community advisory vote went against the bid, it was more than a bureaucratic L. It was the audience rejecting the pitch. Supporters called it short-sighted, said the benefits were misunderstood. Maybe, but you can't market for the people and then fumble the people. That's brand whiplash. And the whiplash looks worse stacked against another lightning rod, the NFL partnership. Protest lives outside the building, power lives inside. The NFL deal tried to sit on both chairs at once.
That's a Blue Contrail, but yeah, no, he was dating Blue,
Wow,
but he had another woman that was pregnant that was about to come out with her pregnancy around the same time.
Was she from the islands?
Something like that. And that's where he met Rihanna. Robin Fenty is in Barbados. So I know he spends a lot of time out there.
On one hand, it opened the league's biggest stage to artists the Shield had historically sidelined. Those halftime sets turned into global windows where hip-hop stood center, not as a guest, but as the headliner. On the other hand, critics heard a different drum. We've moved past kneeling, rang like a corporate reset, politics downgraded to production. For viewers who rode with Kaepernick, that line cut. Was this leverage for change or influence for sale? The truth is messy. The stage really did evolve. That matters. Visibility for Black artistry at the most watched show in America isn't nothing. But hometown backlash, like a New Orleans legend feeling snubbed during a New Orleans Super Bowl, reminds you that access is not the same as alignment. You can upgrade the spectacle and still downgrade the spirit. If you brand yourself as the bridge between protest and platform, every booking becomes a referendum.
I'm not insecure because I would have got plastic surgery. People make it, they all can turn around and thank Beyonce because that's it. And enough is enough. I'm fucking coming for everyone now. And even Adele, because she's retired now.
The applause can be loud, but so can the side eye. And that duality, the inspirer versus the insider, didn't start with football. It began with bubbles and a pivot that turned a snub into a crown. Once upon a press interview, a Champagne executive shrugged off hip-hop's love for his product. It read as condescension. Jay-Z flipped the table, iced out the label, and uplifted a dusty house with a flashier bottle and a fiercer story. That wasn't a reaction, it was strategy. When your name can convert outrage into market share, you own more than a brand. You own a mood. The Armand de Brignac era proved the model. Frame the switch as dignity, install the bottle as a symbol, and link consumption to pride. The buy-in wasn't just taste, it was stance.
Or his girls, DJ Khaled, Nicki Minaj, and Megan can't be in the same building. Meek Mill ain't got no money. Lori Harvey, she's banned. They don't trust her around Jay or any that. The guest list is just faulty and it's not so A-list anymore.
Years later, the LVMH deal stamped that stance as luxury canon. People called it a masterclass, and they weren't wrong. Still, pay attention to the lesson buried inside the lesson. Moral lightning became commercial power. That doesn't make the initial insult any less real, or the pivot any less sharp. It just reveals the playbook. Every offense can be repackaged into a product if the messenger can sell conviction. Which brings us to the one place conviction got tagged with a question mark: the streaming wars. TIDAL arrived like a manifesto with a login. The value proposition sounded simple. Artists deserve more than fractions of pennies. Fans deserve better sound. Culture deserves a platform owned by the people who make it. That framing hit hard because it felt like a fix for the industry's oldest scam. But building a cathedral doesn't guarantee a congregation. TIDAL's exclusives lit up launch months, then the gravity of bigger platforms started pulling ears away. The headlines shifted from mission to metrics, and the Norway side investigations created long shadows, even as the company pushed back, calling the accusations false and the data compromised. When the service moved under a fintech umbrella, the narrative changed again. The dream of an artist-run rival gave way to a story about ecosystems and synergies and board seats. That's not evil, it's capitalism doing what capitalism does. The ache came from the gap between the manifesto and the merger. If the banner said for artists, then sold control to a payments machine, fans read it as a reveal. The movement was always a business, even when it sounded like a rebellion. Some supporters still swear by the audio, the interface, the ethos. Others shrug and say the cool factor cashed out. Either way, it exposed a truth about brand activism. Once you make morality part of your sales pitch, the audience will audit your receipts forever. Next up, a valuation saga that shows how ruthlessly the numbers game gets played. If champagne was about symbolism, cognac was about leverage. The Douce dispute wasn't a Twitter spat. It was a courtroom chess match over billions in brand destiny. The heart of it was valuation. How much is a lifestyle worth when the lifestyle is attached to a name that can turn a product into a passport? Public statements were careful, filings were technical, and in the end, the settlement's details stayed mostly sealed to the public. No surprise there. What leaked into the discourse was the same headline you see in most heavy corporate fights. He wanted X, they wanted Y, both sides claimed principle, then they cut a deal. What mattered for the myth wasn't the decimal points, it was the optics of standing firm and walking away with a piece still in play. Significant stake becomes its own kind of trophy. It says the door didn't close, it just moved to another room. And that's the connective tissue across the empire.
He wasn't trying to do it.
He wasn't trying to rap?
No, he was trying. He was rapping with jazz. He had stopped completely. He was hustling.
Hold enough leverage to shape the exit while keeping the narrative on your side. But narratives have a half-life, and the more you sell them, the more the audience tests them. Zoom out, and the repetition looks like rhythm. First, the announcement crafted like a sermon. Words like equity, access, opportunity hit the ear like relief. Second, the alignment. Major partners with deep pockets and deeper histories that suddenly sound reformed when framed within a new mission. Third, the rollout. Big names endorse, respectable voices co-sign, and philanthropy sweetens the optics. Fourth, the friction. Residents, workers, or watchdogs raise alarms about who actually gets the upside. Fifth, the pivot. The story shifts from what it means to what it pays, and the brand either weathers the storm or exits gracefully with a win. That pattern isn't unique to Jay-Z. It's the soundtrack of modern celebrity capitalism. The difference is scale. When your name is a currency, the exchange rate affects more than your portfolio. It sets cultural expectations for how success should look, feel, and behave. That's why rumors stick, even when they're unverified. Talk of future team ownerships, whispered trade-offs for endorsements, calculated friendships that blur into strategy, none of that is proven by gossip. But the buzz floats because the brand has invited us to believe that everything is a move. If everything is a move, the audience will parse every step like game film. And when people feel like pieces, they start rooting for the board to flip. A halo is a powerful thing in America. Attach it to a product and you can charge more. Attach it to a policy and you can sell it faster. For a long time, Jay-Z's halo felt like a communal inheritance, proof that we could beat the game and rewrite it at the same time. Recently, that glow picked up a different tint. Locals who live with the consequences of big projects don't clap for abstract jobs in a press release. Artists who bought into the For Us vision don't cheer when equity turns out to be more symbolic than liquid. Fans who grew up on the politics of the music don't love hearing that protest is a season, not a stance. None of this erases the wins. Scholarships, criminal justice work, a catalog that raised the standard for decades. It just complicates the hero pose. The mogul archetype we all learned, the one that says access is the revolution, risks obscuring the basic math of who ends up owning what. If a project is truly for a neighborhood, the neighborhood's vote should count more than the brochure. If a platform is truly for artists, the major decision shouldn't read like bank memos. If a halftime moment is truly for protest, the message shouldn't feel like it got a corporate haircut. These aren't purity tests, they're consistency checks. And consistency is currency when you've branded yourself as conscience. There's also the fatigue factor. Audiences can spot moral marketing from a mile away now. They scroll through slogans like spam, when the pitch leans on identity, justice, and community, but the receipts point to consolidated control. People don't call it vision, they call it spin. That's the hidden cost of a halo. Once the glow feels transactional, every new pledge looks like a coupon. Credibility stops being a story you tell and becomes an invoice you pay, regularly, publicly, measurably. And if the brand keeps insisting it's a bridge, the crowd will start asking who actually crossed it and who just paid the toll. But a halo isn't permanent or doomed, it's maintained, which means the next chapter isn't about louder promises, it's about verifiable mechanics that move value where the slogans say it's going. The funny part about a brand built on agility is that it can pivot again. Imagine a version of the playbook where community benefits aren't accessories, but anchors measured in outcomes, not promises. Picture binding agreements that publish quarterly dashboards, local hires, small business contracts, youth programs funded, and if targets slip, automatic clawbacks kick in. Imagine city projects where a neighborhood equity trust owns a slice of the upside, sending real dividends, not just photo ops to the zip codes that host the risk. Now imagine a platform where royalty math is posted like an annual report and artists can audit the split without begging. Set a transparent revenue share floor. Add an independent artist council with veto power over policy changes, plus a fast lane for emerging acts to access microgrants, tour support, and financial literacy training. Not a vibe, an infrastructure. The same rigor used to close 9-figure deals pointed at the people who make the culture valuable in the first place. Take the live event lane too. If you're curating the biggest stage, lock in a locals first rule, a guaranteed slot for regional icons, and a feeder program that lifts 2 new artists from the host city each year. Pair it with paid apprenticeships for stagehands, lighting techs, and vendors drawn from nearby schools. Make the announcement in a school cafeteria before you make it in a boardroom, and let the final town hall vote be binding, not ceremonial. None of that is utopian, it's just a different kind of flex. The business still wins, the brand wins louder, and the audience, trained by years of skeptical scrolling, finally says, yeah, that's ours. Jay-Z's career has always been about converting pressure into diamonds. The pressure now is credibility. It's not whether he can get another deal. It's whether the next one proves on paper and in payouts that more than branding got redistributed. Jay-Z can be multiple truths at once. A once-in-a-generation artist, a case study in leverage, a philanthropist who's written checks, and a corporate force who has mastered the packaging of purpose. None of those cancel the others. But the last few years pulled back the curtain on the cost of telling the public that every money move is a moral move. When the casino sounds like a gift, but the neighbors hear a trap, faith fades. When the league stage expands, but the protest feels trimmed, trust wobbles. When the bottle births a fortune and the platform gets sold, the mission starts to look more like marketing. Maybe that's the lesson the culture is learning in real time. Legacy isn't just exits and valuations. It's how many people can point to the results and say, my life changed because of that. Not just, I watched the celebration. Jay-Z doesn't owe us sainthood. But when the story keeps promising for us, the scorecard will always ask for who exactly. The business will keep being the business. The open question, the one that keeps people arguing long after the video ends, is whether the culture is actually in the deal or just in the deck.